be on this side of the fence.
So the auction for the Webo has ended and we are gonna call the new buyer. Riley keeps calling him the potential buyer, but he bought it. So I don't like that kind of energy, man. He's the buyer. His name's Andrew. I think he lives in Virginia. We're gonna give him a ring. If history repeats itself, this guy will never pick up. They never do.
Your call has been forwarded to voicemail.
Hey Andrew, this is Luke McFadden. I just wanted to call and congratulate you on your new boat purchase. So give me a ring back. Thanks. Well, it's 1:44 in the morning. I don't know why I'm awake. We're going duck hunting. We're in Pasadena right now. I guess that's why we're up at 1:45. Not sure how we decided on this. Not sure how we got here, but it's raining sideways. It's very cold outside. We've got quite a journey ahead of us. I will take you guys with me. And we will see if this was stupid or if this was the best duck hunt we've ever been on. To be determined. It's weird. When you get up at like 1 a.m., kind of just feels like you stayed up all night. So it's like I'm shockingly awake, but also I think it's because it's kind of disrespectfully early. It's too early to even turn on the radio. Certainly too early to be filming a YouTube video. So stick around. See, great idea, terrible idea. What do you think, Wade?
I think there's no ducks right now.
I won't lie, Wade and I have a history of going on a lot of really interesting adventures that don't always result in killing a lot of ducks, but we're hoping today's gonna be different.
We were just here and saw a lot of ducks, but now I don't see a single one.
Yeah, that's the problem that we typically run into.
We actually scouted this time for once. Like I don't normally do that because I don't have time, but we did it. And it's letting us down a lot.
Well, it's only been like a few minutes. We'll be fine.
We've been here since like 4 o'clock.
Well, folks, we did shoot a scoter. I guess we're not totally empty-handed, but we were close.
Luke isn't here, but we're gonna shrink wrap the crab stand still. Better late than never, I guess, as probably Luke would say. It's raining. It's not that, actually it's done raining, but it's not the most ideal time to shrink wrap something, but it's gonna rain every day for next week. And it's the middle of December, and it's gotta get done. All right, so we got the shrink wrap pulled over it. Now, typically when you're shrink wrapping a boat, you run like a band underneath the boat to pull the shrink wrap down before you start heating it. But with this boat, since it's buried, there's not really a way to do it. What would Luke do? I figured it out. He would run a screw. He'd probably be happy it's stainless, or maybe impressed. And then you just tie the shrink wrap to it, because there's actually a string going inside. Shrink wrap all around. Actually, you can see it kind of right there. Besides, you got 7 free stainless screws now. We're about to start heating it up. It is a little bit of a weird boat to shrink wrap, though. It's not traditional. Typically, you don't have hard corners like that, but we'll figure it out.
Well, today it is actually suspiciously warm for being the end of December. We're close to it. It's probably like 60 degrees out right now. But this weekend, it's supposed to be really cold. It's supposed to get down to 15. That means everything that runs with an engine or is in the water or involved in it basically needs winterized so that we don't have to break everything that we own. That means Desperado, we got to winterize the bilge even though there's no engine. Southern Girl needs antifreeze in certain things. Weebo needs the same. It also means that the wet bike needs winterized. All the outboards we've used need winterized. Also, I got to take the fish down off of the Southern Girl. Don't really need to, but not going to get any better sitting up there. The fish that we use for the boat parade, pretty cool. I thought it was pretty neat, pretty entertaining. But we got to get rid of that, so we got to cut all the lights off, break down all the pieces of pipe, and then get to winterizing all of the stuff. I know for a fact, as soon as I get done taking this thing apart, I'm gonna think of an awesome idea to use the fish for like a video or really anything. And will have taken it all apart. So now that I'm thinking about it, it's on my mind, I'm working on it, I'm gonna figure out. So when you winterize a boat, you have to winterize all the systems that touch water. So not only just the engine, but also the water pumps and everything. That's actually just as important. Cheaper to fix, but still hundreds or thousands of dollars.
All right, where do we connect this to? So,
what do we need that for?
well, we got to be able to, if we need to get water or antifreeze up to the burner, and we put antifreeze in here, I assume it splits off somewhere, like a T or a Y.
Yeah.
If all the antifreeze goes to where this is supposed to connect to, nothing's going to get up there.
No, you just shut off the Y valve. So there's a Y valve. It goes to here to a Y valve. I shut the Y valve, and the other hose is plumbed to the burner. So just start dumping.
Oh, you're actually
I'll
smart.
start pumping.
You're smarter than you look. I thought it would just be...
I've done this a time or two. I ain't...
You also complain you go through a pump every year because they usually winterize them in March.
Well, yeah, but that's just because I procrastinate or forget or both. Hopefully I didn't already wreck the burner. The thing about the engine in this boat is that it's not keel cooled. So the Webo has a closed loop cooling system, which means it takes antifreeze that's inside of the engine and runs it through a cooling tube system on the outside of the boat underneath, under the water. That transfers all the heat from the engine to the water via some piping and a water pump. That means that you always have coolant which won't freeze in your engine block. So you don't have to worry about winterizing a keel-cooled boat for the most part. The Southern Girl has what's called a heat exchanger, which means it has a closed-loop cooling system inside the engine that runs antifreeze, which will not freeze, in theory, but it uses raw water from around the boat to transfer the heat away from the engine via a cooling pack, heat tank, whatever. It's the big expansion tank on the front. Got a bunch of copper tubes, and it runs coolant through the copper tubes. Actually, it runs coolant around the copper tubes and seawater through it, and then overboard. So that means anywhere there is seawater that will freeze at 32 degrees, or I guess a little more because, or a little lower because it's brackish water technically. We need to replace that seawater with pink antifreeze so it doesn't freeze the engine. The problem with water freezing is that when water freezes, it expands. And it will expand so much that it will actually crack any kind of metal, especially plastic, 9% expansion. But that's no good because it will lead to cracked engine blocks and things like that, cracked heat exchangers, and that will be extremely expensive. So $7 gallon of coolant can save you, potentially $60,000 in engine replacement, which is definitely worth doing, not worth rolling the dice on. Because one of the constants in life is death, taxes, and that water always freezes, it's called, and apparently expands 9%.
Didn't you used to have a hook for that?
Yeah, I think we're using the hook to do something else at this point. Okay. So we were getting ready to winterize the engine, and I noticed that when we took the motor box off, you see all this condensation? It's all just moisture from the bilge and whatever else that's gathering on the engine. Well, the engine's not made out of stainless steel, so it's gonna get rusty, and that's how you make a really good looking engine start to fall apart quickly. I should have removed the top of the engine box, which is what I usually do, but also I've never had the boat shrink wrap before, so the shrink wrap is also not helping dry out. So we're gonna start the engine, let it run for an hour or so, hopefully get to temperature and burn off all this condensation. We're gonna go winterize a couple other things, and then we will be back to finish winterizing the boat here. Just gotta wait for that to get up to here. Not to here, to here. We good to go. Riley, you that hard up, buddy? Look, Riley's stealing rags out of the rag closet. I think he's gonna take them home and try to put them back together.
No, what this actually is, start working for Luke and you realize the pay's below minimum wage because he pays you in Chinese dollars.
The exchange rate is not great right now.
$7.25 Chinese dollars. So I couldn't even afford rags to work on stuff, so I had to cut up all my clothes.
Wow.
These were for rags.
This is all you got left, huh?
That's all I got left.
Wow.
And then I just had to raid Luke's closet, still close for pen.
Yeah, I actually charge more for merch for friends and family. That explains that. All right, next on the winterizing list is the wet bike. And there's not exactly any books on winterizing your wet bike, so I think we're just gonna try to drain the fuel, drain the carbs, get all the old, actually it's new fuel, but it won't be any good next year. Drain all the fuel, and then try to maybe fog the cylinders. I don't think this thing really needs any antifreeze because it's a power head, basically like an outboard. So all the water in theory should drain out of it, and if we run it with no water in it, it should help blow the water out of the block before we overheat it. So the most important thing when it comes to stuff like this, whether it be your small outboard or your gasoline powered boat or your wet bike or whatever it might be, is getting fuel out of the system, because the number one killer of these things is ethanol fuel. So we're gonna go and get some ethanol free fuel that you can get at marinas, certain gas stations, and put some in all of our outboards, the wet bike, everything, and run it, because the ethanol free fuel will not gel over the winter. Ethanol fuel will gel, and then you'll be taking the whole carburetor apart, it'll never run. But if you do that, you're not gonna wanna fix it, put it up on Facebook Marketplace, then I'll buy it for cheap, clean the carburetor and get it running. So, it's kind of a life cycle.
We've already done it, so we don't wanna do it again.
Yeah, we already just did that, so
I don't want to have to do that twice.
And you wouldn't believe they don't make gaskets to rebuild this, so I won't even talk about what gaskets are in there right now.
Yeah, it runs.
It's a hodgepodge of old gaskets I'm laying around that might work or might not work.
It works pretty well.
Yeah.
We are working on still getting some nasty stuff out of the fuel, as you can see. But that's why you got filters, right? Riley's truck is gonna love this 2-stroke. It's a myth that you can't run 2-stroke in a 4-stroke. You can, especially if you have a small block Chevy.
With 300,000 miles on it.
Yep.
Lubrication.
Exactly. You can see there's a bunch of junk every time I squeeze this primer bulb. But that's why we got the filter. And to me, that looks like the inside of a rubber hose. So another thing with ethanol, in 1978 or whenever this thing was created and then probably updated with hoses, they didn't have any ethanol in the fuel. Ethanol is very destructive to plastic and rubber and all those kinds of things. So when you put ethanol, modern fuel, into old vehicles, cars, boats, trucks, whatever, a lot of times it'll break down any kind of rubber, deteriorate any kind of rubber that might not have been updated or whatever. So if you're having issues with dirty carburetors, dirty fuel systems, always check to make sure your hoses are fine, because they might not be cracked, but the inside of the hose is probably eaten up by ethanol. Pro tip here. All right, so once we pump the gas out, find your neighbor's truck, go dump it in your neighbor's truck. It won't mind a little 2-stroke. And then find yourself some ethanol free, put it in the tank, run her for a minute. Should be good to go. All right, we are in the Webo now. And even though this boat is up for auction, we'll find out if she sells in the next 2 days. We're gonna start her up, which could be a mistake. Just kidding. And give her a shakedown, make sure everything's tight, everything's not leaking. Anything that needs antifreeze, we'll put antifreeze. Although this thing really shouldn't need any antifreeze because it's a closed loop cooling system. But we're gonna do it anyway. Going to, let's see. I bet she starts. Like a charm every time. Most reliable boat I own. I'm selling it like a dummy. Oh, she's chilly. That thing moving at like 400 RPMs. Up to temperature. We let her run for about 25 minutes. Then we're gonna take some of that pink stuff. We're gonna open this sea strainer up, close that sea cock valve, and I'm gonna run the engine. Riley's gonna dump pink stuff in there till it spits out the side. And we are gonna shut this off, leave that closed, and stick yourself a note on the dashboard that says, do not run until you open the sea cock, because you will blow the engine up. I promise, trust me, I've done it. So first of all, we gotta shut the valve off. Beautiful. Just save you guys thousands of dollars here today. Okay, take that off. Alright, this is off. This is the top to the sea strainer. Look at all that. This is why we have sea strainers. Dude, this thing is full. Look at all this junk here. Let's go bang this out over there. I'll show you why we have a sea strainer. Oh my gosh, dude. There was a fish in there. Look.
Nuh-uh.
Look. These are all fish vertebrae. I've had this happen before where I sucked up a fish in my sea strainer and I overheated my engine because I sucked up a fish. There's an entire fish in here. R.I.P. Fish. Circle one. All right. Oops. Yeah. I was just gonna tell you to stick your head out the window and see if you see pink. Oops. All right.
A little extra to make sure it's good.
Yep, and if you spill a little bit in your bilge, you might be a crabber. And not that bad, and I'm being serious about this. Anywhere there's water sitting in your boat, it can and will freeze and expand. So I do dump some antifreeze into my bilge of my boats on land and in the water because it will keep the bilge water from freezing. Many a man has cracked their hull over the winter because stuff is frozen. Actually, funny story, the Dora Lynn one time sank. Towards the end of its life, it sank because they had a hard freeze on the island and the water in between the boards that make up the bottom planking froze and expanded and spread the wood boards apart. And then when it defrosted, the boards didn't swell in time, and so it basically tweaked all these little holes and it was sinking. I heard that story from the previous owner and Chris Marshall, who fixed it when it did sink. Water freezing could be a nasty thing. All right, always write yourself a note. What are you doing, dude? What are you doing?
Break in your engine, chill out. Now, go to the vlog and I'll have a WD-40, but it's protect your engine too.
From what? You?
Yeah, and you just spent, what, $1 million on like so it's a paint job for this thing?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna protect it for you. You're not really supposed to use fog and oil. I don't think anyone really said you couldn't. Just what I have. I like it because it's staying over here and doing it.
Dang, you got some distance on that Joker.
It's just gonna be greasy when you go to work on it now, but it's rather than greasy than all nasty.
I guess.
Flaking off.
That's like saying I'm not dumb, but I ain't stupid.
There's a difference.
I'm dumb, but I ain't stupid. All right, make sure you get all my belts so they squeak even worse than they already do, all right?
Well, it's not gonna squeak, so it's slipping quick.
Beautiful. So spraying your engine down does actually help that condensation that we just had to run the engine to burn off not reform as much. You gotta think, all that moisture, water under there is gonna start rusting the iron the engine's made out of, will start flaking the paint, then it's all downhill from there. So spraying it with something, WD-40, whatever it might be, does help kind of preserve it. Looks wrong, feels wrong, but it will probably help you out in the long run. Make sure you don't get it on your belts because you will screw them up doing that. Keep your engines clean. They do always say that cleaning your engine is bad luck, but what I say is if I had bad luck, I probably wouldn't have no luck. So fine with me, I'll take a little more bad luck. It is what it is, and keep my engine nice. All right, now that the Webo's run a little while, got all the condensation off of that motor, topped off the antifreeze, let the batteries charge up a little bit, pumped every orifice. We are going to shut her down and put a engine block heater on it. This engine should be fine, but it is still an old boat. We're going to stick this, which is an magnetic engine block heater, on the side of the block, plug it in just to be safe. So we're on to the last big boat we got to winterize. It is the Desperado, and I know it sounds crazy because look, there's nothing. There's no engine. We don't even have a floor, nothing in it. But it still needs winterized because in the very bottom of this boat, there is water. And there's a channel that runs right at the top of the keel from bow to stern. That is water that I basically can't get to. So we are pumping it out with this little pump out of the boat, and then we're gonna put some antifreeze down there. And the reason is because that water, if we leave it, has potential to freeze solid and then expand, and then we'll actually crack the fiberglass. And we got enough of a project here. We don't need to be taking on any more fiberglass projects. If you don't buy your antifreeze in kitty litter buckets, you ain't no crabber. That is for sure. Antifreeze. All the spots we can't get to that we don't want to freeze up. Good to go. Boats are winterized. On to the next thing. So we are headed to Chrysler Tonight. It's a very last minute trip. We're gonna see if we can pull it off because we got a lot of crazy stuff going on and very tight time schedules. So we have to go to Chrysler tonight. It's about 7 o'clock right now. So hopefully we get there by 10 p.m. We're gonna find a hotel room on the way. And then tomorrow morning at 5:30, we're meeting Wade Murphy Jr. to go oystering on a skipjack. And then we gotta hop back in the truck. Hopefully we get done at a reasonable time. We're gonna hop back in the truck, hopefully make it to Composite Yachts to pick up a bunch of material we need for the Desperado, and then hightail it back to Pasadena. Hopefully I can get changed, get into a suit, and then get up to Jimmy's Famous Seafood for the Toys for Tots fundraiser ball extravaganza at 6 p.m. tomorrow. So it's a lot of driving. There's a lot of stuff to do. Very short notice, and we're gonna try. All right, vlog update. We made it. We went oystering. It was great. It was awesome. Brutal work. We did not make it to Composite Yacht. So we have to go back down here to go to Composite Yacht tomorrow. And Lindsay is not feeling well, so we did not go to the Jimmy's dinner, which actually kind of worked out because there was no way we were going to make it home and be there on time. So it may have saved me a little there, but we're headed home now. Riley and I just ate freaking everything on the menu at Applebee's because we haven't eaten all day and it's 6:30. So going well. And I'm making Riley drive the truck home because go watch the oyster video, dude. I'm done. I want to lay back, heated seat. I'm good. All right, we are here in Cambridge at Composite Yachts, and we were picking up a bunch of material for the Desperado. We're getting a bunch of Divinacell for the stringers, and we're getting a bunch of Cusa board for the deck and deck beams and all that kind of stuff. These guys have been super helpful. Rob and his whole team, they've been more than kind to us. You know, I call them, me and Riley both call them with questions as we're doing this boat build, and they're always happy to take the time to tell us what they know and help us out. So I'm excited to be here, pick up the material, and then we're gonna try to go in and see if they'll give us like a little bit of a rundown, because we don't really know what we're doing that much, and these guys do. So we're gonna see if we can get a little knowledge, maybe a couple pointers while we're here. Let's go spend some money.
So she's a completely walk around. It's the same hall as the 55 that's over in the other building.
Right. Didn't you guys design that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a custom.
Yeah.
So what is it, like if somebody wants to buy one or something, you'll build it however they want? You
Yeah.
have different halls that you can build.
And this is why the shear line is going to be different. We're going to stick build her deck because we need to get the engines under the ceiling. So she's actually raised probably a foot in her stern. You know, I guess it's what the customer wants. She has a pretty shear line right there. That's how much she's raised in the back.
It's real yachty, though.
Yeah.
It looks real yachty.
I'm trying to get her done before Christmas to pull her tomorrow.
Oh, pull it out the mold?
Yeah, but she's got to have the stringers and bulkheads in her first. You know, I finished a lot of hulls off that I ordered them without any stringers, but it's a lot easier to put them in when they're in the mold.
You have to worry about a deforming or anything too.
Like if you don't get her right and you put stringers and bulkheads, she's stuck. It ain't no fixing.
Yeah.
Unless you cut it all back loose.
I know, we were nervous about cutting the stringers out of mine. It's up on the hard. Everything's out of it. All the weight's out of
it.
it.
Can be done.
It's gutted.
You know.
We just were careful to put a lot of stands on there. It's blocked on the keel. Hopefully she goes back right, because if she hadn't, then she's... So that's the same hole as that one over there?
Hole.
But that one, I see what you're saying. It's got that thing that sticks up.
The deck on that one's going to be probably a foot higher in the stern.
Right.
Yeah,
So
this boat runs 60 mile an hour. Now she is all carbon fiber. We built her light.
So the hull, is it cord with that?
Yeah, it's cord
with that foam and then carbon fiber on the outside and the inside?
Yeah, you would lay the hull out. Once we get all the layers up, we core it, and it gets vacuum bagged, and then we glass it again.
I imagine that carbon's got to be way lighter than fiberglass.
Oh, it's lighter. It's
Itchier.
Yeah.
But it's also $10,000 a roll. Whew.
What most people are going to now on the high-speed application in particular, it's a blade that comes down, basically creates like a negative pressure in front of it. It worked great, and you don't have the appendage.
That's pretty wild, man. What's that thing laid into the prop?
You have the ability to fine-tune the blade with those.
Balance-wise or something?
More with pitch.
Oh, okay. This is Rob, by the way. You own the place, right? You
Well,
and your brother, something like that?
my father started the business.
Oh, okay. What year?
In 2000.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 24 years. Yeah.
It's impressive. A lot of boat builders don't make it 20 years.
Yeah, right.
But also most boat builders ain't building this.
We'll build anything.
Yeah.
You know, we're not married to a design. We're not married to a a look. I mean, we
Right.
love to. We're really big.
You got a
on,
style for sure.
We do.
I mean,
we
it's
do.
like it's art, man. And
We
you
try to
have a
incorporate
style
that.
to it that you can kind of see in everything you build, but you can see the style of the Chesapeake in it.
You'll have some cues, yeah.
of like the Chesapeake Dead Rise, the classic Chesapeake Dead Rise kind of style.
We've got some cool projects going on. The 46 next door is going to be a research boat for St. Mary's. All started with a pencil sketch. Once they determine that they like it, we've got a design team that we work with, one of which is Lou Codega, who designed all the regulators. They'll digitize it. We do the hydrodynamic testing, making sure the thing's going to work. We cut stations. Like you said, we plank them. It's still, the hull one is, run and plug, and it's a foam core boat.
I mean, how many boats do you guys think you build a year? It's hard to say, I guess, because boats take multiple years
It's a couple,
to build.
a couple a year, but obviously it depends on the size too.
Right. People got to realize that's from a pencil drawing to a completely custom running turnkey boat.
Yeah, our 39.
3 years ain't that bad.
No, it's not. I mean,
with R&D and everything, testing. I mean, you're not just like building it. You're making sure it's going to work. Even like the work that we're doing now on my boat, the amount of time it takes, grinding glass, everything just takes so much time, money, and material. I mean, the fact that you can have them done in even 3 years is just, crazy. People that don't have a concept of that think, oh my God, that's forever. But people that have worked on even repairing boats, it takes people 3 years to fix something.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are building the whole thing. You got any suggestions or any pointers or any tips for this project we're doing?
Oh man!
Keep cutting it up and put it in the dumpster, right?
Yeah. Well, let me sell you a 46.
Yeah, right. I know. That's what I should have done in the beginning.
You've done enough work like this already that it's going to come quick. Being careful with your measurements. Paying attention to your product is
Reading the instructions.
yeah, but that's probably the biggest thing. The time that you spend ahead of time making sure that you've got everything you need right then and there.
Yeah,
That stuff's
yeah. You got to
fire.
spend just as much time getting ready to do it as you.
Yeah.
It probably like it's like hunting, right?
Yeah.
It takes like half a second to pull the trigger,
Yeah.
but you spend a whole bunch of time
Yeah.
before to make sure it's
Yeah.
going to go right when you do it.
Right down to cooking dinner, taking the time, making sure that you're doing it accurately.
I really appreciate all the time you take,
Oh,
even
dude,
just
no,
talking to
we're
me on the
happy to.
phone
Yeah,
or
no,
sending
happy to.
pictures of here and there and helping us get material
No,
and all
we're
that
happy
kind of
to.
stuff. I really do appreciate it because
Oh.
we're trying to do what we can with what we got
Well,
here. So
we like to support the watermen. We do a lot with material resales and things like that. And,
yeah, because I mean, you guys are the only people down here in Cambridge. I mean, you're not getting this stuff at Home Depot or anything like
no,
that. So
they threw a fair amount of it. So,
I'm sure of
yeah.
it.
No, we're happy to help. We want to see everybody succeed.
So we went to Composite Yacht and we picked up a load, literally a boatload of material, not the pallet, Chrysler board underneath. Since we're going past, we got to stop and check out our friends at American Outboards, see if they got some parts for us for some other projects that we're working on. All right, we can't think of anything else we need here. Parts for our 1957 engine.
That they had in stock.
Yeah, which is insane. Such a cool spot. All right, so the Webo saga continues despite our best efforts. We went through an auction stock company, the boat sold at auction, and then the guy that won the boat backed out of the deal. So now we don't really know what to do. The auction company's kind of like, well, here's the information for people that bid on it. We're done. So we're gonna call the next highest bidder and see if he answers. They never answer when we do this, but we'll give it a shot. What's his name?
Keith. Yep.
I'm sorry, the person you were trying to reach has a voicemail box that has not been set up yet. Please try your call again later.
Bro, are you serious? We are going to replace an impeller and the recoiler in the camo boat. So this is an old Chrysler 15 horsepower and the recoiler's busted and we have a couple spare engines. You can't really buy new parts. We did get a new impeller from our friends at American Outboards, but other than that, we got to hope we don't break anything. And then if we do, replace it from our scrap engine here. So I'm thinking about trying to build a camper on here. Still up in the air, but this at least needs to be done. So we're going to start with that. So the recoiler, you can see it right here. The idea is that when you pull on the pull string, it has a helical gear and these teeth go up and then mesh with the teeth on the flywheel, and then you can turn the engine over by hand. Well, something happened and the teeth on here got run into the flywheel when it was running, so it ate the teeth off of the recoiler. I'm also now just noticing that that is cracked. So the thing that spools the line is also cracked. The pulley is cracked in half. So we're gonna get in there and replace it, hopefully with the one off our spare, our parts engine here. That is the nice part about them. All right, so this one's got recoiler that is in one piece. Although the funny thing about them is, like, best case scenario, they still suck. This was just not a very good system. I've read online a lot of people say that, like, they just are constantly breaking, or they're so old now that they're just brittle. So we're gonna try and get this one off, try and get that one off, swap them over, and then move on to do an impeller, which is the water pump in the lower unit that cools the engine. I sucked up some mud into it last time I was playing with it. Yeah, it overheated, but it ran again after that, so I think it's fine. Get in there. No, I'm just trying to figure out a way to get to it. All right, that's what we're after. Oh, this one's split too.
Is it really?
A little bit, yeah. Stayed in on the other one.
Yeah, I think you have 2 bushings on the thing in your hand though. I think they stopped making it. I think they changed the formula.
The stuff that I have it's like gray. It looks like this crap that I'm...
Come on.
We need a mechanical engineer, Riley. This is a job for mechanical engineers. This is very highly skilled stuff right here.
You need a bigger hammer.
You are right about that. You ain't kidding. Oh, uh-oh. It's probably like some old dude on YouTube that knows how to do. He's like laughing at us. He's like, I've done 37,000 of those.
Well, buddy,
in my sleep.
You're the only person in the world that knows.
There is a Chrysler outboard guy on YouTube. I've watched a bunch of his stuff.
Me too. You know, we probably could learn how to do this in 5 minutes by watching a video. I think I got to keep going.
Until it spins the opposite way and wraps the whole thing up?
Do I look like a Chrysler mechanic?
You do today.
That's the messed up part. Yeah, if we can do teamwork.
Break all the teeth on this thing. We'll be in good shape. Whoa!
Moving
So we have to spin this entire thing around so much that it goes around the opposite way?
That's what I'm thinking.
That seems crazy. Kind of Chrysler engineers.
Yeah, probably easier if I do both. They probably make a tool, honestly. You pull the flywheel off and it just goes right in there, you twist it. That's probably really what it is.
Is this going to spin the engine the right way?
Let's hope so.
It's going to spin the engine counterclockwise, isn't it?
So whichever way makes sense.
Okay. Well,
based off which way this pulley goes. I gotta pull all that back in?
Dude, I'm telling you, it seems crazy.
Why don't you pull up a video?
I'm going to try to call the guy that's second in line for winning the Webo again and see if he picks up. He read my message and never called me back the other day.
I'm sorry, the person you are trying to reach has a voicemail box that has not been set up yet. Please try your call again later.
This guy, we've tried to call him twice now. He's read the message and has not called me back. And you can't leave him a message. I guess we'll call the next guy. You got the next guy?
I already got the email pulled up. His name is Gas Monkey.
Call has been forwarded to voicemail. The person you're trying to reach is not available. At the tone, please record your message.
Hey, this is Luke McFadden. I seen you had put in a bid on the Webo last week, so just give me a ring back. Now we got to try to put an impeller in this thing, and I got the bolts out, which is kind of a miracle. I'm going to try to knock the lower unit off of this now and see. Problem is with these things, these are not ever made to be in salt water, and it's lived its whole life in salt water. We'll see if the aluminum has welded itself together. And we're also leaking something, which is interesting because this is a 2-stroke and that appears to be 4-stroke. Not going to look too far into that. All right, I'm equally as shocked that this appears to be coming off. I thought it would be corroded into one solid piece. It may be on the inside. It appears to be stuck in the engine. Well, the lower in this one's no good. I'll tell you. Oopsies.
I would go slow in them
No. I mean, it's looser, but it
just stays constantly tight.
Yeah.
You might have to work it back and forth for a while.
Oh yeah, that seal's leaking in the top there.
Yeah, that's exactly the seal I thought it'd be.
Well,
Yep.
I think it's fine, just the way it is. Doesn't look great. Doesn't look as bad as I thought, though. I thought it was going to be roached.
Got
destroyed
salt in there. Hopefully the power head isn't clogged up. The solution to that is high-powered air.
That's why you flush your outboards, kids. Oh, it's all pitted, and it's probably not pumping the amount of water it should be.
And just close her back up, pretend like you didn't see it.
Never use anti-seize. Not in saltwater marine, at least. The reason anti-seize works is because it's grease with aluminum flakes in it, but in saltwater, the aluminum flakes will corrode and expand and then do the opposite of anti-seize.
Turns into Loctite.
Turns into Loctite. Damn, sucks getting dark so early.
It's 1 minute later every day.
Alrighty. The cooling water that comes out of here, the whole lower full of water when it's running, because it'll spit out of here sometimes.
The exhaust housing will be. So it feeds water into there. This is typically your upper relief, but anything that goes through, like the actual engine, can sometimes come out there. At least that's how it is on newer motors. I don't get that.
There we go. There we go. Oh, look at that. That doesn't happen often. Son of a gun, it actually worked.
All right, I'll turn forward.
No, not yet.
Not ready?
No. Oh, I got the Franks before the beans. One plate's threaded. And I was like, that's weird that the forward plate would be threaded because it's supposed to be on the back. It would probably work for
a little bit.
about a couple hours. Sweet. On a day's work, right? So the Webo is still here after much trying. I have tried and tried and tried and tried everything I can think of to sell this boat. And for some reason, it just won't sell. We have tried holding open houses. I've put this boat on Facebook. I've put this boat on all kinds of different Craigslist, you name it. We hired an auction company to try to sell the boat so that we didn't have to deal with any of the issues that we've had before in terms of people just showing up, wanting to see the boat, wanting to whatever, nobody actually wanting to take it home. And the auction ended and we thought we sold it and the buyer backed out and the auction company kind of said, well, too bad, we're done. And we called the next guy in line and he won't answer the phone, he won't pick up, we can't get in touch with him. him. We tried the third guy in line. He won't pick up. He won't answer us. I know he's reading the text messages. He's getting everything. Nobody wants this boat, I guess. This boat is basically purpose-built to gill net inshore. And that is an industry that is being quickly put out of business. It has been over the last decade in particular, and it continues to not really thrive. People really aren't getting into that fishery anymore. Very hard and expensive to get boats, permits, help, anything like that. Offshore wind and green energy has pushed most of the gill netters and ground fishing guys further and further offshore. Guys have to buy bigger boats that can haul more load and that they can go for longer trips, so that kind of leaves the Webo, I don't want to say obsolete, but not super desirable. I mean, I would bet for every 15 guys that get out of the fishery, you might have one guy that gets into the fishery. This would be a perfect starter boat for somebody looking to do that kind of stuff, but there's nobody looking to do that kind of stuff, unfortunately, anymore. This boat is a great boat. It might have better luck selling down south or something like that. It's a shame because it's a 42-foot turnkey fiberglass commercial fishing boat. I don't really want to get rid of it, but I have a lot of other projects. I have a lot of other boats. I have the Southern Girl. We're building the Desperado. I'm going to need the space to put the Desperado once it's done. So basically, I got to make room by getting rid of the Webo in some capacity. I'm open to ideas. I have thought about doing a million different things with this boat in the event that I got stuck with it. I'd really like to sell the Webo and put the money from selling the Webo towards a smaller, more reliable boat. All the boats I have now are either really small aluminum boats, John boats, or big commercial fishing boats like the Southern Girl, the Webo, the Desperado. I really, really, really need one reliable, trailerable, like a center console, especially with all the videos we're doing, with the fishing that I'd like to do, with the scouting I'd like to do, and whatever. It'd be great to have one reliable small boat, kind of like the Black Tip, that boat that we took to Florida. I don't have a boat like that of my own. I have to rent one or borrow one all the time for a lot of the stuff that we do. I was hoping to sell the Webo, put that money towards buying another center console, but it doesn't look like that's ever going to be a possibility. So I have come up with a lot of ideas for this boat. I thought about turning it into an Airbnb, building a cabin on it. I have thought about pulling it out of the water and putting it in the ground as a second on land location for the crab stand. I've thought about turning it into a floating crab stand where I basically set up a market on it and take it to Annapolis, to Baltimore Harbor, and sell my seafood off of it. I've thought about turning it into an educational vessel and doing basically charters to show kids and whoever else crabbing and those kinds of things. Thought about doing sea duck trips on it. I built a catfish longline rig for it. I've thought of lots and lots of different things. The problem is it's hard to justify taking on those other things when we have so many projects already going on. I need to get some more things straightened out with the crab stand before I go and try to add a second location. But a boat like this doesn't get any better by sitting around, unfortunately. It's kind of a boat that needs to be used in order to kind of keep it in shape. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys have any other ideas that I could do with this boat, you'd be interested in purchasing it, let me know. Drop a comment. I'll give you another little show around the boat. So this is in the cabin. I've done some videos sleeping here. I've stayed in it on a tent on the deck. It's got battery compartments. It's got electronics. It all works. Very simple. There's not much to it. It's got plotter. And it's got a humongous working area. Lugger engine, diesel engine that runs really well. It's got a lot of hours, but it runs well. Console in the back, and it all works really nicely. It's like too much boat to be a pleasure boat, and honestly too much boat to be a crab boat for around here. Well, it's extremely cold and windy. It's like, I think in the high 20s, and it's blowing like a gale, like 30-mile-an-hour wind. So naturally we thought today's a great day to go to a tailgate. So we're rolling squad deep to the Jimmy's tailgate. It's gonna be really nice and warm. Very much excited about it. Dude, this guy over here is always selling stuff, bro. He's got the coolest freaking second gen ever. I'm jealous. I really want that truck. It's a little rusty, but it's just rusty enough to be obtainable. But somebody would still be asking like 30,000 bucks for that thing on Facebook Marketplace.
Are all Dodges rusty?
Yep.
Yes, I've owned like 10 Dodges. And
What
they're
about
all rusty.
them makes them more rusty than other trucks?
They're Dodges. Even the plastic seems to rust on Dodges. Anything Mopar is definitely gonna rust. The engine's gonna probably run forever. Like the whole entire body will rust off and fall off around the drivetrain.
You guys,
What do you think?
it's a,
Quad deep, dude. Tweedledee and Tweedledummer.
where's your matching hat, Riley?
Hey guys from the camo boat on the creek. It has been actually blowing a gale here for the last couple days. So I gotta put this anchor out and then put it on the bow of Webo. Webo weighs a lot, and it also has a lot of what we call windage. Windage refers to the amount of surface area, usually on the sides of a boat, that wind can catch and move a boat around. Anyway, when we get the winds that come in this way, pulls the bow out that way, and on that little floating pier, there's not a ton of great places to tie the boat up. So I've actually ripped that floating pier right off of the pilings before, and I'm not trying to do that again because it's a real pain in the butt. So I'm gonna put this anchor out there on this side and then use it to pull the bow over. Good method. Really, anytime you're trying to anchor a big boat or tie a big boat up. I think I'm gonna put the end of this line on the bow, leave the line and the anchor on the side, come around in the skiff, grab it, go stretch it, set it, and we get back on the boat and pull it tight. I think we have a hammer right here. Every knot has what's called like a break point, which is a spot where you're gonna be able to get at it and get it undone. It's like you see where the line's looped over or something. It's anywhere that you'd be able to like grab it and really wrench on it and try to pull that loop down. That's why bowlines are really great, because you can always break a bowline no matter how hard you yank it, generally. Sometimes when you just get a knot like this, you gotta get a couple hammers at it and just wiggle it apart. And most knots are caused actually from a loop that I've found. So usually if it's on a spool or just in a pile, a loop of line, not your end, you know, you're usually not having to pull the end all the way through, but usually it'll be a loop that gets wrapped around and ties some kind of knot. But I'll tell you what, I've seen some knots I could never tie on my own that got tied by accident. You know what they say, if you can't tie a knot, tie a lot. All right, let's go hop in the boat. It's a lovely day for boating. Today we're not really having the issue of Webo getting pushed off the dock, but prevailing wind here, the wind that's usually blowing through here, is pushing it off of the dock, in the winter time at least. I'm trying to not have to rebuild the dock again. That was a pain. This will just be a pain if I do have to take the Southern Girl out. I guess I'll have to come undo this freaking thing, huh? I guess that's easier than rebuilding a dock though. Is what it is. Also, pro tip, if for whatever reason you have your boat in the water in the winter time, when it's gonna get really cold, duck hunting or something like that, leave your engine down. Leave your lower unit in the water, because the problem is people, every time they pull in the dock, they lift their engine up out of the water. And in the summer, that's fine. But in the winter time, your lower unit's gonna trap water, and then it's gonna freeze and it's gonna break your lower unit. Always leave it down. Hopefully that keeps us from having to replace a dock again. As many of you know, I had the Webo up for sale on an auction website. The person that won the Webo backed out of the auction, but I accidentally on purpose kind of bought another boat because I thought the Webo was sold 3 times over. So now I made a deal to buy another boat without selling the Webo. So now I am extremely interested in selling the Webo, because now I made a deal for this boat and I'm on my way to go pick it up. I'm sort of excited to pick it up. It's a boat I've wanted for a long time. It's a boat that we really need, honestly. I mean, it's my own dumb fault for making the deal on this boat without cash in my own hand for the other boat. But I didn't think there was any way possible that the sale through an auction company would fall through 3 times. Well, here it is. My brand used 21-foot Sea Pro. 2003, so it's an older hull, and it definitely shows its age a little bit. It's in pretty good shape for what it is, but it's got a lot of nice stuff on it that I would usually like never in a million years ever put on myself. First of all, it has a decent trailer, actually a really nice trailer, which is shocking because I've never had anything with a nice trailer that has working brakes, lights, and is legal. The main reason I like this boat is for this right here. It has a very reliable engine. It's way, way, way nicer and newer than any engine I've ever had, besides buying a new diesel engine for my crab boat. It's a 200 Suzuki 4-stroke, 2023, I believe. It's got a couple hundred hours on it, but it's in very good shape. It's gonna be so nice to have a boat that is reliable and easy on fuel and can get us anywhere we gotta go. I'm very, very excited to have this. I've never had any kind of outboard that I knew was really gonna start when I turned the key. It's also got a jack plate, which is awesome because a lot of the places I go are super skinny water, and I wanted to be able to get into as shallow water as possible, being in the Chesapeake Bay and then also taking this boat to Florida and places like that. It's really nice. These are kind of a bonus, but I'm excited to try these out. It's got power poles, so these, you hit a button and it sticks down into the ground, basically like a shallow water anchor. So if you're fishing or we're trying to shoot something or whatever it is, as long as we're in shallow enough water, hit a button, boom, we're right there. We can get the shot, we can do whatever we got to do. It's got a trolling motor up front, which is pretty fancy, you know, fishing and whatever else, but also we can put that in the water and you can have it track. So like if we're trying to get footage from outside the boat or something like that, of crabbing, you know, it's nice and quiet. You can just run the trolling motor and there'll be no external noise. It's just not real fancy inside, but that's fine. I like minimalist boats. This honestly is way fancier than anything I would ever usually want, but got it from somebody I know. It's got sea deck, which is nice on your feet. Trolling motor, casting platform. We got some cushions that go up around the front here. It's got a speaker, so no more ratchet strapping a turtle box to the bow, I guess, and bouncing around. Pretty basic, which I like, but the features it does have are hopefully reliable and nice. So got live wells. It's pretty standard. They've been making this boat for a long time. They've been making this hull for like 30 years. It's pretty much unchanged, so a pretty proven hull. It's kind of the Swiss Army knife of boats. I didn't want something that had too high a bow. It's a real pain to trailer, that you got to put a lot of power on to shove it, or that we can't get into spots where I want to go. Decent boat, but the money really is in the motor and the jack plate and all that kind of stuff. You know, it's got some cracks in the gel coat and whatever here and there. It's a little beat up. It's an 03, but that's fine with me. I don't want a nice shiny brand new boat anyway. A, I can't afford it, and B, I want something I can use without having to be worried about it, nervous. It's gonna be an awesome fishing boat, awesome boat to take on adventures. You'll probably see me build a camper on this thing at some point and I'll be sleeping in it. This is sort of an investment in the business, as crazy as that sounds. We just keep hitting so many roadblocks that are like, all right, I wanna shoot this video, I wanna do this, I wanna get this shot, I wanna go here, and like we just don't have a boat to do it. So now we do. I can't wait for the weather to break so I can actually take it out and use it. I've only ran this boat one time on a sea trial and it was freezing cold. It was right before the creek locked up. I really haven't been able to go out and experience this boat much. My wife's gonna be ecstatic. She's been begging me to get a boat that is not a royal hunk of junk for a long time. So hopefully she likes it. Here she is. She hasn't even seen the boat yet.
This looks way too nice to be on this side of the fence. Very out of place.
This is B-lot. This is long-term parking.
What do you think?
Oh my gosh.
It's here, we've done it now.
Beautiful. I have a boat. No way.
It's got cushions, but we had to take them off so they didn't fly off on the highway.
Oh, wow.
What do you think? You got a boat.
I can't believe it.
I can't either.
Wow, this thing is way
This was
too
supposed to
nice
be the
be
replacement
yours.
for the Webo, but we're still working on the first step of that.
Wow, this looks way too nice to be ours.
It is way too nice to be ours.
I think we need to trade it in for 5 crappy boats.
I'm way ahead of you on that.
I think you have 5 crappy boats to trade yourself.
I think you're right. And we need to get rid of 5 crappy boats. No, we don't. Just get rid of a couple.
Wow.
We got some cool stuff going on. I am headed up to Jimmy's Famous Seafood to pick up some seasoning in the new packaging, my crab seasoning, my everything seasoning, to take to the Harrisburg Outdoor Show this weekend, to give some away, to sell some, to do a meet and greet. But also, the thing that I'm most excited about is we just today got in a product that I have been working on with Jimmy's for a while. Finally got it in. I'm super excited to see it and show it to you guys, and it will be hitting store shelves here soon, as will the seasoning. The crab seasoning will be in all Harris Teeters up and down the East Coast, like 250 of them. By the time you guys see this, it's also going to be in a lot of Safeways, Giants, Gershbecks, a bunch of other retail stores. I'll have more details on that anyway. But I'm excited to get to Jimmy's and show you guys one of the products that I'm most excited about. And there it is, folks. Potato chips. I barely made it on the billboard, but I still made it. It's the morning of the 1st of February, and we are going to Harrisburg Outdoor Show. A pallet of chips. the back of my truck, plus a bunch of hats and sweatshirts. Always get nervous about shows. I hope they go well. I always think people aren't going to show up. I hope they do. I think they will. They usually do. Had a bit of a debacle. Chips from Jimmy's yesterday because they just launched. Literally just came out yesterday. I really wanted to take them to the show because I was super excited about them. Pallet of chips that I wanted was a little bigger than I thought. Wish us luck. Well, we're back. It was a success. It went really well. We gave away tons and tons of chips. Everybody seemed to really like them. Sold some merch, some seasoning, and got to hang out and meet and talk with probably 300 or 400 fans today. So it was super awesome. Really appreciate everybody coming out. So a question I get commonly asked is, Luke, how many boats do you actually have? And usually I say, I don't even know, but it's not enough. Today we've added one more to the fleet. But I'll give you a little rundown of the actual fleet. I had to stop and think about it. We have boats that you guys have actually never even seen before. So we have the old trusty aluminum boat, the one I had when I was a kid. It's got the Yamaha. We have this camouflage boat. It has a fun twist to it that that's for a later video actually. But it's still a boat that I have, so we're counting it. We're up to 2. We have my favorite boat, which is the second camouflage boat that I own. Technically, this was the first camouflage boat that I owned. Jet skis and wet bikes don't count. And boats with skis on them don't count either, because that one doesn't go on the water unless it's frozen. We also have another boat that you guys really haven't seen, although I think I've mentioned it. The old skiff, under construction. Also, I'm in a full Tyvek suit because I'm about to go into yet the other boat that we have, the Desperado, the one that we're rebuilding. Of course, we have Old Reliable, knock on wood. Old Reliable, the Southern Girl, the main breadwinner, and Webo. And if I really thought about it, there's probably a couple more boats jammed in nooks and crannies of town that I've kind of forgotten about. Oh yeah, and the wet bike. Wet bikes don't count.